Ethan lay perfectly still beneath the thin metallic blanket that the alien sisters had given him, his heartbeat pounding so hard he feared they could hear it. The cold air of the chamber buzzed faintly, like electricity humming through glass. He kept his breathing shallow and rhythmic, mimicking deep sleep. The strange blue light that filled the room pulsed softly, and he could sense movement, graceful, deliberate, almost floating. They were here again. He had been on their ship for 3 days, or at least he thought it was 3. The concept of time blurred in this place. There were no suns, no nights, just the constant glow of that eerie light. The sisters, if that's what they truly were, seemed to appear and vanish without sound, speaking in soft, melodic tones that slipped through his mind like music underwater. They called themselves Lyra and Vena. To him, they looked human, mostly, but no human moved like they did, or had eyes that shimmered with living light. He remembered the crash vividly. One moment he was piloting a scout vessel through a wormhole, storm. The next he was tumbling through a silver sky, his console sparking and alarms screaming. He expected to die. Instead, he woke up here, uninjured, lying on a floating bed in a room that seemed carved from crystal and light. Lyra stood beside him then, her white hair rippling in unseen wind, her gaze calm yet impossibly deep. She told him they had saved him. Vena, the darker-haired one, had said nothing, only watched him with a faint, knowing smirk. At first he believed them. They gave him food, though he wasn't sure it was food at all, just glowing orbs that dissolved into warmth when touched. They asked him strange questions about Earth, about bonding rituals and species harmony. But something about their tone changed when they thought he wasn't listening. He heard whispers through the walls, words like specimen, selection, adaptation. And that was when he decided to pretend to sleep. Now, as their footsteps, or whatever passed for footsteps, approached, Ethan kept his eyes closed and focused on the sounds. A soft hum vibrated through the air, followed by a delicate chime. "He dreams again," Lyra whispered. Her voice had a haunting beauty, like wind through glass. "His mind patterns are accelerating." Vena's tone was colder. "He's resisting subconsciously. He suspects." Ethan's pulse spiked, but he didn't move. He felt the bed dip slightly as one of them leaned closer. A faint scent reached him, something floral, electric, intoxicating. Lyra. He knew her presence now, the way the air seemed to shimmer around her. Her hand brushed his cheek, light as dust. "Still, so fragile," she murmured, "yet his kind endures the void. Curious." Vena scoffed quietly. "Curious or foolish?" A low hum filled the room again, and Ethan sensed something above him, like static building, a field of unseen energy. He risked the tiniest movement of his lashes and saw it, a small hovering sphere, translucent, emitting soft waves of blue light that traced along his body. It scanned him slowly, almost tenderly. "What is this?" Lyra asked, her voice almost reverent. "The human nervous field," Vena replied. "See how it reacts to proximity. His system aligns with ours, naturally." Then the stories were true, Lyra whispered. Ethan wanted to open his eyes, to demand answers, but he couldn't. Not yet. Every instinct screamed that if they knew he was awake, they might stop pretending, or worse. Vena moved closer. Her silhouette darkened the blue glow. "He's not ready. If he awakens now, the resonance could collapse." Lyra's fingers hovered inches above his chest. "He will awaken when the time is right. His pulse sings to me already." Ethan nearly broke then. The urge to speak, to run, to ask what they meant was unbearable. But he kept still, forcing himself into silence. His mind raced. Resonance? What did that mean? And why did her words sound less like science than more like devotion? Minutes or hours passed. The orb finally dimmed, retreating toward the ceiling. Ethan thought they might leave, but instead the sisters began to whisper in their strange language. The sound made his skin prickle, his heartbeat sinking to the rhythm unconsciously. He didn't understand the words, but he felt them, vibrations that brushed the edges of his thoughts. Suddenly, Lyra's tone changed. Her voice grew softer, almost mournful. "He does not know what he carries, sister. To him, it is merely fear. To us, it is the key." "The others will not approve," Vena said sharply. "You risk exile for this." "Let them exile me," Lyra replied. "I have seen what he dreams. The bridge between our worlds lies within him." Ethan's heart thundered so hard he feared it would give him away. What did she mean by bridge? And why did she sound so certain, so desperate? The hum faded, replaced by the sound of something soft brushing against the floor. Then silence. Total, suffocating silence. Ethan counted the seconds in his head, waiting for movement, for sound, anything. But when he opened one eye, just a sliver, his breath caught. Lyra was standing inches from him, her glowing eyes fixed on his face. She was still, too still, her expression unreadable. For one horrible moment he thought she'd caught him, but then her lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. She leaned close, her whisper brushing against his ear. "Even when you sleep, your thoughts are loud, little starfarer." He froze. Every muscle in his body turned to stone. Vena laughed softly behind her. "He thinks he hides from us?" Lyra straightened, turning toward her sister. "Let him pretend. It will make what comes next easier." "What comes next?" Vena's tone dripped with amusement. Lyra's gaze flicked back to him, still smiling. "His awakening." Then the light flickered once, and they were gone, vanished as silently as they had arrived. Ethan lay there in the dim glow, his mind spinning. His skin still tingled where her voice had brushed it. They knew. They had known all along that he was faking. And yet, they let him. He swallowed hard, staring into the blue light above him, realizing that his little act of deception had only opened a deeper mystery. Whatever the alien sisters wanted from him, whatever awakening they spoke of, it wasn't over. It had just begun. Ethan woke with his pulse hammering in his throat, every nerve on edge. The last thing he remembered before drifting into actual sleep was Lyra's whisper, the kind that burrowed under the skin and lingered. His awakening. The words echoed through his skull like a drumbeat. When his eyes fluttered open, the same faint blue light washed over the room, calm and constant, but the air felt different, heavier somehow. Something was watching him. He forced himself to lie still, to breathe evenly. If they suspected he'd overheard their conversation last night, he didn't know what they might do. His instincts screamed for him to move, to fight, to run, but where could he go? Beyond the transparent walls was endless void, a sea of mist and starlight. The ship, or whatever this place was, hovered in a dimension that defied logic. Then, as if answering his thoughts, a soft vibration rippled through the air. The walls began to shimmer, and a doorway opened without sound. Lyra and Vena stepped through, their forms gliding across the floor like ghosts. They looked different today, no robes, no alien armor. Their skin glowed faintly beneath sheer, flowing garments that shimmered like water. Ethan shut his eyes at once, feigning sleep again, heart racing. "He's still unconscious," Lyra murmured, her tone analytical yet warm. Vena made a sound of amusement. "He's faking again." "I told you he's learning," Ethan froze. "How could she know?" "He's clever," Lyra replied. "Let him listen. Curiosity is part of what makes him adaptable." The sound of light footsteps approached. Ethan kept his breathing steady. He felt the shift of air as one of them bent close. Vena, by the sharper scent of ozone and spice. "Adaptable," she repeated softly. "That's what they called the first ones, too." Until adaptability turned into defiance. Lyra's tone was calm but firm. "He isn't like the others," Vena's laugh was quiet but dangerous. They all said that, sister. Every one of them thought their chosen was different. Chosen. That word slammed into Ethan's mind like a pulse of electricity. Chosen for what? He heard a faint metallic click, followed by a low hum. The room filled with that strange blue light again, this time brighter, sharper. Ethan risked the smallest slit of his eyelids, and saw the same orb hovering above him, but it was larger now, pulsating in rhythm with his heartbeat. Beams of energy extended from it, mapping his body in an intricate lattice of light. Testing emotional responses, Lyra whispered. Fear rises when proximity increases. His mind is active even in simulation mode. Vena circled to the other side of the bed, her gaze glowing like molten silver. He's trying too hard to stay still. He's aware of every breath we take. He's pretending again, Lyra smiled faintly. Then he's past the first stage. Ethan's skin prickled. Past? Was this a test? He struggled to remain motionless as Vena leaned close enough that he could feel her breath near his ear. "Do you know what happens to those who pretend too well human?" she whispered. "They end up believing their own act." He wanted to flinch, to recoil, but he didn't move. She laughed softly and pulled away. "Run the next phase," Lyra said, her tone suddenly clinical. The orb's glow intensified, projecting strange symbols into the air. Lines of alien script twisted into spirals, floating between the sisters as they exchanged brief glances. The language pulsed with rhythm, as though alive. Ethan could feel it vibrating in his bones. Then something new happened. A beam extended from the orb directly toward his forehead. Cold light touched his skin, and a wave of warmth shot through his body. His muscles tensed involuntarily. The sisters watched closely, eyes flickering. "Physical compatibility reading," Vena muttered. "His neural waves are aligning faster than expected." Lyra's expression softened. "He's attuning. He's accepting the resonance subconsciously. Resonance again. That same word he'd heard before. Whatever they were doing, it wasn't just observation. They were changing him. He tried to push thoughts away, to stay calm, but images began to flash behind his closed eyelids. Scenes that weren't his memories. Strange landscapes bathed in silver mist. Tall structures that breathed like living beings. A vast ocean of stars swirling around a single glowing sphere. He saw figures like Lyra and Vena kneeling before it, whispering words he couldn't understand. The sensations grew stronger until it felt like he was both inside his body and outside it. His pulse roared in his ears, and for a split second he forgot to breathe. The machine's hum deepened, resonating with his heartbeat. "He's reaching the link threshold," Vena said. "If it continues, he'll cross." Lyra touched her sister's arm. "Let him. I want to see where his mind goes." "No!" Vena snapped. "You don't know what will happen if—" But Lyra silenced her with a look. "Trust me." The world around Ethan seemed to dissolve. The light became liquid, washing over him, through him. He could hear the sisters' voices echoing inside his skull now, faint but distinct. "Can you hear us, Ethan?" He almost gasped. That was Lyra, no doubt. Her tone was soft, gentle, but it wasn't spoken aloud. It was inside him. "Don't be afraid," she said. "You were chosen because your mind resonates with ours. You're not our prisoner, you're our link." He wanted to shout at her, to demand answers, but he couldn't move. His lips wouldn't obey. The light pressed against him like warm water, heavy and soothing at once. Then Vena's voice entered, colder, sharper. "If he links now, the balance will fail." "You're rushing it, Lyra." "He's ready," Lyra insisted. "Can't you feel it?" "His thoughts are open and terrified," Vena retorted. "Fear distorts the bond. If he sees too much, the connection shattered." The orb flickered violently, the light collapsing into sparks. Ethan felt a jolt of pain shoot through his temples, and suddenly he could move again. He gasped, sitting up abruptly, eyes flying open. The sisters froze. For the first time, they looked startled. "You shouldn't have done that," Vena said sharply. "You've accelerated the process." Lyra's expression was unreadable. He was already awake. Ethan clutched his head, blinking through the fading afterimages. What did you do to me?" Neither of them answered. Instead, the orb began to pulse again, faintly, like a dying heartbeat. It drifted toward Lyra, who reached out and cradled it in her hands. The moment her skin touched it, the entire room shifted. The walls shimmered, the ceiling dissolved into stars, and suddenly Ethan could see a vast void stretching endlessly beyond them. Lyra stepped closer to him, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "You saw it, didn't you?" "Our world," Ethan's voice trembled. "That wasn't your world." "It was something else." Vena folded her arms, glaring at her sister. "You've shown him too much. He needs to understand," Lyra said softly. "He has to feel it, or he'll never trust us." Ethan backed away, his breath coming fast. "Trust you? You've been experimenting on me, scanning me like I'm a specimen." Lyra's gaze softened, almost sad. "You misunderstand. You're not our subject. You're our mirror." "What the hell does that even mean?" he demanded. But before she could answer, the orb in her hands flared with sudden intensity. A sound like a deep cosmic heartbeat filled the chamber. The light expanded outward in a ripple, washing through the room. When it faded, the sisters were gone. Ethan was alone again. Only the faint blue glow remained, trembling across the walls like fading echoes. His head throbbed with after-images, their voices, their faces, the alien world pulsing behind his eyes. He staggered to his feet, looking around the chamber. It looked unchanged, but the air itself felt alive, humming with quiet energy. He wasn't sure if it was coming from the ship or from him, because deep down, beneath the confusion and fear, something new had awakened inside him, a pulse that wasn't entirely his own. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that something inside him had changed forever. The chamber was silent, but the silence wasn't empty. It breathed. The air pulsed in time with his heartbeat, and that terrified him most of all. His pulse wasn't steady. It was rhythmic, melodic, like a faint echo of another being moving inside him. He pressed his hand against his chest and felt a vibration that wasn't human. It was as though his blood hummed with invisible electricity. He wanted to scream, to claw it out of himself. But at the same time, the sensation carried a strange calm, an unnatural warmth that made his limbs heavy. The door dissolved before he could think further, and the alien sisters entered again. Lyra and Vena, so alike and yet opposite, moved through the light as if it were part of them. Their bodies shimmered faintly, symbols drifting beneath their skin like constellations. They didn't blink. They didn't breathe. They glowed. Lyra's eyes met his first, soft and full of something that might have been empathy or control. "You feel it, don't you?" she said. Ethan tried to stand tall, to mask the unease twisting through him. "What did you do to me? Why do I feel like something's alive in me?" Vena tilted her head, her tone cutting. "Because it is. The resonance began the moment you stopped pretending." Lyra gave her sister a warning glance, but didn't deny it. "You were never supposed to resist," she said quietly. "Your body is adjusting to the link. It's remembering us." Ethan's laugh came out harsh, disbelieving. "Remembering you? I've never seen anything like you before I crashed here." Lyra stepped closer, the light around her intensifying. "Not you, as you understand yourself," she whispered, "but the essence within you, the spark that your kind carried before time broke our bond. That part of you recognizes us." "I don't know what you're talking about," Ethan said through clenched teeth. Vena raised a hand and the air shimmered. A circle of symbols appeared between them, glowing in a shifting spiral. "These are the signatures of the old bonds," she explained. "Long ago, our kind and yours existed as one mind divided between worlds. But your world forgot. It closed itself, buried the link. The bridge faded." Lyra moved closer to the circle. "And then you came," she said softly. "A human carrying a spark strong enough to reactivate it. Do you think that's chance?" Ethan shook his head slowly, the fear building behind his anger. "Do you think I'm part of this because I crashed here? Because of some spark you say I have?" "You didn't crash by accident," Vena said. "You were drawn here. You called to us even if you didn't know it." "I didn't call anyone," he snapped. Lyra's eyes softened. "No, Ethan, your soul did." Something in her voice struck him deep. It wasn't just mystical nonsense. Her tone carried conviction, and part of him hated how her words stirred something inside. He didn't want to believe her, but the hum beneath his skin pulsed faster when she spoke, as if agreeing with her. The symbols on the floor expanded suddenly, their light reaching the walls and ceiling. The chamber vibrated and Ethan stumbled back. His reflection shimmered across the glass-like surface of the walls, but it wasn't his reflection anymore. His eyes glowed faintly, and the same alien markings flickered beneath his skin. "What's happening?" he gasped. "The bond is accelerating," Vayner said grimly. "He's sinking too quickly." Lyra turned to her. "Let him. His resonance is stabilizing." "Stabilizing," Ethan shouted. "You're doing this to me." Vayner's voice cut through his panic. "You're doing it to yourself. Your body is responding to what it already knows. You are the echo of what was lost." Ethan staggered backward until he hit the wall. The markings on his skin flared brighter, matching the symbols floating around the sisters. "Stop it!" he yelled. "I don't want this. I'm not one of you." Lyra's expression softened, and for the first time she looked almost sad. "That's what the first bridges said," she murmured. "The first what?" "Bridges," she said. "The humans who first connected our two species. They linked minds and hearts with ours, carrying both worlds' essence. But fear destroyed them. Your people turned away, terrified of losing themselves. The connection collapsed and we were left alone." Ethan felt his anger falter. "And now you're trying to bring it back." "Using me," Lyra shook her head. "Not using, completing. You were meant to finish what they began." Vayner's tone hardened. "He can't handle it, Lyra. You're blinded by prophecy." "Look at him, he's fracturing already." Lyra turned sharply, her voice rising. "He's the only one who can do it. You saw the readings. His energy matches the core frequency. The bridge has chosen." The argument built tension in the room, their voices overlapping with the vibrating hum of energy. Ethan's hands shook as he clutched his head, overwhelmed by pain. "Stop! Please stop talking like I'm not even here!" The lights flared, blinding him. When he blinked the glare away, the world had changed. He wasn't in the chamber anymore. He stood in a vast expanse of light, endless and shifting, where colors bled into each other like liquid fire. Beneath his feet was a translucent surface, and through it he saw worlds, Earth among them, spinning silently in the void. Beside him stood Lyra and Vayner, but they were different now, towering and radiant, their forms dissolving into pure energy. Lyra's voice echoed through the air, not spoken, but felt. "This is the heart of the bridge, the place where all consciousness connects." Ethan stared in awe. "This can't be real." "It is more real than your waking world," she said gently. "The link brings you here when your essence opens. You are both dream and matter now." Vayner appeared beside her, less serene. "This is dangerous. His mind can't sustain both realms for long." Ethan turned to them, fear and fascination battling inside him. "Why me? There have to be others, someone stronger, someone who actually wants this." Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "Because the bond doesn't choose strength, it chooses resonance. You vibrate at the same frequency as our world's core. And what happens if this thing completes?" he asked. Vayner looked away. "Then you cease to be human." Ethan's stomach dropped. "You mean I die?" Lyra's answer came softly. "No, you evolve." He laughed bitterly. "That's not an upgrade, it's a disappearance." Lyra stepped closer. Her hand reached toward him, glowing with golden light. "You fear losing yourself, but what you'll become is more than either of us. You'll be both worlds in one form." Before he could react, her hand touched his chest again. The universe exploded inside him. He saw flashes of alien skies, seas of glass, human faces he didn't know, and stars collapsing into silence. He saw memories that weren't his, wars, peace, creation, and in every scene, the same glowing symbols spiraled outward like veins of light, connecting everything. When it ended, he was back in the chamber, trembling and gasping for air. Lyra knelt in front of him, tears shining like liquid starlight. "Now you understand," she whispered. Ethan looked at her through blurred vision. "You think I'll just accept this?" Vayner's voice was cold. "You don't have a choice. The resonance is complete. You are the bridge now." He looked down at his hands, glowing faintly with alien light. and realized with a chill that the second heartbeat inside him wasn't just a sound anymore. It was a presence, living, aware. Lyra touched his face gently. "Your awakening has begun." Ethan stared back at her, his voice trembling. "And when it's finished, what will I be?" Lyra's eyes softened, the answer written in their glow. Something that neither world will be ready for. Ethan didn't remember collapsing, only the sensation of falling through light. When he opened his eyes again, he was still in the same room, but everything looked wrong, alive. The metallic walls rippled faintly, breathing in and out, and the air had a shimmer to it, like heat over desert sand. He sat up slowly, every motion heavy, his muscles trembling. The markings on his skin glowed softly, fading in and out like distant stars. For a long moment he just stared at them, horrified and fascinated all at once. The silence was unbearable. He wanted to believe it was over, that the sisters had left him alone. But deep inside he knew better. That second heartbeat, steady, patient, was still there. It pulsed not only in his chest, but in the walls, the floor, the air itself. The entire ship beat to the same rhythm as his body. He tried to stand, but the world tilted violently. His vision fractured, and he saw flashes, Lyra's eyes, Vena's hand reaching for him, a storm of light. The resonance, they had called it. Whatever that ritual was, it hadn't ended. It had merged them. A voice whispered in his mind then, smooth as silk. "Don't fight it, Ethan," he froze. It was Lyra's voice, but she wasn't there. "You're safe. You're with us now." His pulse spiked. "Get out of my head," he hissed, clutching the sides of his skull. "You invited us in the moment you accepted the link," she said gently. "This is how we speak, how we share." Another voice followed, sharper, colder. "He's resisting again. It's destabilizing the connection." That was Vena. Ethan gritted his teeth, forcing his thoughts into focus. "I never wanted this. You've turned me into some kind of conduit." Lyra's voice softened. "No, we revealed what you already were." The room darkened, and light bloomed before him like liquid fire. The sisters materialized again, stepping out of the air itself. Lyra's expression was calm, sorrowful. Vena's was wary, calculating. Lyra approached him slowly, her silver eyes shimmering. "You're struggling because you still see us as separate," she said. "You can't fight what's already within you." Ethan backed away. "You're not within me. You put something there. But before he could finish, Vena lifted her hand, and the air solidified between them. He was suspended mid-motion, his voice caught in his throat. Energy rippled from her fingertips, binding him like invisible chains. "Enough," she said, her voice cold as glass. "You've seen what happens when you resist. Do you want to destroy both worlds?" Lyra touched her sister's arm. "Let him go." "He's afraid." "He should be," Vena replied. "He doesn't understand what his fear can do." The energy snapped, and Ethan collapsed to the floor, gasping. The hum in the air deepened, and for a moment the chamber seemed to dissolve into color and sound. His vision blurred, and when it cleared, he was somewhere else entirely. He stood on the edge of a massive platform overlooking an endless expanse of stars. Towers of crystal rose into the sky, humming with energy. Rivers of light flowed between them, each one carrying shapes, souls perhaps, or memories. The air was alive with the same rhythm that beat in his chest. Lyra appeared beside him, her expression soft. "This is the bridge," she said quietly. "The space between your world and ours. It's where both realities meet." He turned slowly, awe and dread twisting together in his gut. "Why am I here?" Vena appeared on his other side. "Because the ritual has reached its final stage. The resonance is complete, but the balance depends on you." "Balance?" Lyra gestured toward the rivers of light. "Every link between our worlds must be anchored in a living vessel, one heart, one mind to stabilize the flow. Without that anchor, the bridge collapses and both sides tear apart." He stared at her, realization dawning like ice. "You mean me? I'm the anchor." Vena's tone was flat. "Yes, and if you refuse, both worlds will unravel." Ethan laughed weakly, the sound hollow. "You expect me to believe that?" You've lied since the beginning. Lyra's eyes glimmered with something like pain. We didn't lie, Ethan. We only hid the truth until you could bear it. Bear it, he shouted. You stole my life. The bridge trembled beneath their feet, the rivers of light flickering violently. Vayner grabbed Lyra's arm. He's destabilizing it. His emotions are feeding the current. Lyra turned back to him urgently. Listen to me. You can control it now. Focus on the rhythm in your chest. Breathe with it, feel it. The bond won't consume you if you stop fighting it. Ethan tried, but the harder he concentrated, the more the world fractured. Images flooded his mind. Earth, the alien cities, the crash, the first time he saw Lyra's eyes. They merged, overlapping until he couldn't tell which belonged to him. I can't, he gasped. I'm losing myself. Lyra reached out and grabbed his hands, her touch blazing with heat. Then let go of who you were. You can't hold both worlds apart any longer. Vayner's voice cut through like a knife. If he merges, he'll cease to exist as human. Lyra didn't let go. He'll become something greater. Ethan's breath came ragged. The markings on his body began to spread, crawling up his neck and across his face. His vision blurred again, and the two sisters glowed so brightly they were almost indistinguishable. Their voices merged, echoing in his mind. Choose, Ethan. Resist and let both worlds die, or accept and become the bridge. The air cracked. The rivers of light started to collapse, spiraling upward into chaos. He could feel both of them inside his head now, Lyra's warmth and Vayner's icy precision, pulling in opposite directions. He fell to his knees, gripping his head, his thoughts fracturing into static. Make it stop. Please, Lyra's whisper came again, tender and sorrowful. You were never meant to carry this alone. Then she did something unexpected. She pressed her forehead to his. The moment their skin met, the chaos stilled. The light dimmed, the trembling stopped, and all the noise fell away. There was only silence and warmth. When he opened his eyes, they were back in the chamber. Lyra knelt before him, her glow fading. Vayner stood behind her, watching with an unreadable expression. It's done, Lyra said softly. Ethan looked down. The markings on his skin had stopped moving. They now formed a steady, glowing pattern, perfectly symmetrical. The second heartbeat still pulsed in his chest, but it no longer felt foreign. It was his. Vayner's voice was quiet. He survived the merge. Lyra smiled faintly. He didn't just survive. He completed it, Ethan's mind reeled. What happens now? Lyra touched his cheek gently. Now you exist between worlds. You are both. You are neither. He stared at her. And you? Her smile wavered. Our purpose is fulfilled. Once the bridge is stable, it no longer needs its builders. No. His voice cracked. You can't just disappear. Vayner's tone softened for the first time. It's not death, Ethan. It's return. We will live through you now. Lyra's form began to fade, her hands slipping through his like smoke. You'll hear us in the rhythm of the stars, in the breath of the wind. The connection is eternal. He tried to hold on to her, but his fingers passed through light. Lyra, wait! Her voice echoed faintly in his mind. You wanted to see our true intentions. Now you know. The room dimmed. The hum quieted. And when the last light faded, Ethan was alone. He looked down at his hands, glowing faintly in the dark. For the first time, he wasn't afraid. The heartbeat in his chest was steady, calm, ancient. He could feel both worlds within it, one human, one alien, bound together by something that transcended them both. He smiled faintly, whispering into the silence. I see you. And somewhere far beyond the stars, two voices whispered back, one warm, one cold, blending into one eternal celestial heartbeat.